So the next thing we're going to have a look at is org reference codes. So I'm going to reset the report. And like I said before, org reference codes are very easy to use, and sometimes you'll even use them without realizing you're using them. So for example, if I drag in my athlete country field, I'm just going to get rid of that drilling. What you'll see here is my country names. Now what you won't realize is that if we go to format, we've already got what we call an org ref code applied. Now if I just change this back to the standard text formatting, which basically means bring back what's in the database and show it as whatever text it is. Okay, that's what we've got. If I drag in another column, you can have as many copies of a field as you like. So if you're worried about that, don't be. I got excessive there. Alright, so if I go back into this, our administrator has set up a reference type called country, and they've told it's told Yellowfin via the view to always use that reference code with this field. So we have other reference codes here as well, but we can't use those because they're not based on the same thing. Okay, so that's an org reference code. The next thing we're going to have a look at is conditional formatting. And to do that, I'm just going to grab some data again. Okay, so maybe what I would want to do in this scenario is highlight any values that are over 100 million. So to do that, I go to Format, and this time I go to Conditional Formatting, and this is where I set up my rules. Now I'm going to go with a basic alert. There are advanced options. Basically, advanced options allow you to apply multiple rules to a cell, but we're just going to learn the basic options in this session. So the next item we select is the style, and this is how the alert is displayed. So the first option is a bar, which basically converts the numeric value we have to a bar within the report. So it looks like a mini bar chart. The second option allows us to change the cell background color. The third allows us to change the numeric value to an icon. And the last allows us to change the font color. But we're just going to stick with cell. And from there, we have a type, but we're just going to compare to value. And basically, this is how the rule works. So what we're going to do is say, okay, when my cell is greater than 100 million, make it green. So we'll close that, and it will automatically take effect. Okay, so that's conditional formatting. You can apply all sorts of different uses to that, but that's it at its core. And after conditional formatting, we're going to explore grouping. So let me just remove these fields again. And what I'm going to do is look at my athletes by age. Okay, so we have this age value here and this invoice value. And instead of seeing each individual age of our athletes, what I might want to do is group some of those up. So let me just go to group data and I add a group. So I'm going to display 0 to 19, and I'm going to say less than 20. So basically what this is doing is when the value in my cell, so when the age at camp here is less than the number 20, show this text. And I'm going to add another group. I'm going to add my 20 to 50 bracket. and I'm going to add a last bracket. And I'll save that. So you can actually see what it's done is it's grouped all the values it found less than 20 under this 0 to 19 and summed up my values. Okay, so it's really easy. Now, if you are a more technical user, we can click View SQL and you can actually see it's created a case statement for us. If you're not that technical, don't worry. Knowing this side of it is enough. Okay, so that's some basic formatting. Now we'll just have a look at a couple of other items. When you're in this report formatting menu, this actually allows you to change the display of the report. So you can change things like the sizing of the cells, the column and row text, borders, titles, and so on. It's worth being aware that all of these items can be controlled via the administrator in a system menu, and so they would have set up the defaults for you. So if you always actually want the column titles to be grey instead of blue, for example, they can do that so that you don't have to change it every time. So if you're wanting to make one-off changes, do so. But if you're wanting all of your reports to look the same, perhaps contact your administrator. Okay, so again, we're going to leave this report and we'll leave it in draft mode. And we're going to access our storyboard. And again, we're going to return, and this time we're going to look at charts. So exploring the chart builder a little bit in this session, we're first going to have a look at the auto charting feature. And auto charts basically allow us to create charts without really deciding what type of chart we want to see. And what it allows us to do is drag in pieces from our report, and Yellowfin will automatically try and work out the best chart to use based on what I've dragged in, or what we've dragged in, and where we've put it. A lot of the time this is a really good starting point, but generally speaking, once you're a little bit more familiar with the system, you'll probably start selecting your own types of charts. And when you do that, you'll start out by using basic charts. These are generally speaking the most widely recognized types of charts just because they're everywhere. The most commonly used types of charts tend to be these sort of four. Line charts. These are really, really good for examining trends over time. Bar and columns are really good for categorical comparisons. Pies are great for percentage of a whole. And tree maps are really good for multiple category comparisons. So once we have a look at our charts, we're going to have a quick look at some of the styling and formatting options that are available to charts. And depending on the type of chart you're using, you'll have different options available. So we're just going to look at the standard ones now. And those include different colouring options, as well as the formatting of axis labels and scales and things like that. So we're going to leave the storyboard again and return to our report. So we just double click again. And I'm actually going to reset my report because again I've made a mess of it. And we're going to drag in a few fields that we'll use to create our charts. So don't worry too much about exactly what I'm adding in. I'm just going to add a few things so that we can explore some features. Turn off drill down. So it's not a very good looking table, but we're just going to ignore that for now and move on to our charts. So to start, we're going to explore the auto chart builder, and to do that we're going to have a look at the left hand panel of our page. Now that we're on the chart step, you'll see that we have a list of fields that's quite a lot shorter than what we had on the data step, and this is because we only have access to the fields that we've actually added to our report. So what I'm going to do is just start dragging in fields, and the auto chart builder takes fields here instead of the data step, which was across the top. And as we add our fields in, you'll see that our chart changes, and this field here has actually greyed out because there's no chart where we have two demographic or categorical fields without a metric that works in this way. So what it's done is it's greyed out my field, and it's just going to maintain that there until we add some other components so that an acceptable chart is found. So we'll just keep dragging items in and we'll see how we go. So you'll see now it's changed from the previous tree map to be a column chart, but it's actually what we call a trellis, which means it's got two vertical axes. If I add in another field, we'll be able to explore those as well. Okay, so at the moment we need to drag our fields around again, and you'll see that changes. And we've got incorrect data again, so we'll get rid of some of those. And you'll see the auto chart changes depending on the fields. Put that